All right, welcome in to this week's episode of the Fatherhood Fitness Podcast. Today we have Jeff Dalzell with us. Jeff was with us once or twice. I popped on his show. I can't remember
Yeah,
the exact month, but I think it was over the summertime
yeah. It
that we
was
did.
it was post raise the bar, but before the
Post raise the
summer, I
bar
think. So
before
it
the
was
summer,
sometime in that
somewhere
like
in there.
April May
Yeah, I'll
timeframe.
put the we'll be a little bit more prepared when we post this. I'll put that in the notes. But glad to have Jeff here today. Jeff and I are both doing a kind of a 7-week mini cut here before the end of the year. We both got different approaches. Both ultimately have around the same goal, but we're just going to be talking today, sharing a little bit about how we approach it, how I approach it, how Jeff approaches it. But before we get into that, I'll let Jeff reintroduce himself, and then we'll get started.
Hi, I'm Jeff. Dad, I got three little kids. Anthony and I are somewhat similar stages. I have a 3.5-year-old and twin 2-year-olds. They just turned 2 yesterday, actually, which is a little bit bonkers for me.
Yeah.
And yeah, coach parents, dads, moms, help lose fat. And yeah, I'm excited to be on, excited to chat this through and have a few other people. I feel like there's, when I put it out there, I had like 4 other coaches say like, hey, I'm doing this too. I'm going to do this too. I was like,
Nice.
it's not a ton of like people like, well, I have a fat loss challenge that I'm doing, but there's a bunch of coaches that were like, let's do it. I was like, okay, I guess all the coaches let the fall get away from us a little bit.
Yeah. So I did a cut and I didn't realize it. It was I started it exactly like 6 months ago. That was not planned. But when I started, it was like May 13th. I started this one like November 13th. And I didn't realize it was because I did 8 weeks last time. And so, yeah, because I went back in my notes to check and it was exactly 6 months ago. But yeah, from July to November, my plan was to do like kind of a bulking muscle building phase. And it went pretty well. It ended up, I put on like, I think 10 or 12 pounds, but a little quicker than I would have liked. So some of that was probably, not all of that was muscle, obviously.
Yeah.
So 6 months later. So it probably, I think, may confuse some people sometimes. Like why are these coaches going up and down? You know what I mean? And so it's like, but once you kind of hit your, I think once you hit your maintenance weight, then you have a lot more flexibility. It gets a lot more fun, to be honest. But.
For sure. Yeah, I did mine. It was like mid-March, and I did 12 weeks. So it was like mid-March through the end of May.
Yeah.
Early March to the end of May. And that one was, that was on the heels of, I did like a almost 6-month muscle building phase from like September through March. And it was really the first time that I'd ever done like, I'm going to intentionally eat I've just like, since I've always just kind of like, all right, I'm just going to maintain, I might go up and down a little bit, but I'm not, I've kind of always just hovered and then kind of slowly built a little bit of muscle over the last 7 years. But I was just like, I'm going to try this because I've never done it. And I was working with Andrew Coates, who's a big dude. So I was like, listen, if I'm working with Andrew, I feel like I should be putting on muscle, like this feels like what I should be working on right now. And so I did that and then cut, and it was great. And maintained all summer, and was kind of flirting back and forth in the fall of like doing a little bit of doing the same thing. I was like, oh, do I do a full thing for the winter or whatever? But I had a few hiccups with just like illnesses and travel and injuries. Like I rolled my ankle pretty good. So I wasn't able to train very much for a bit. And so it started to kind of be like, okay, I'm kind of doing this, but I'm kind of not. And so it was about 5 pounds. It wasn't anything nuts, but I was just like, all right, do I, at this point, like I've kind of put on 5 pounds and none of that's muscle sort of thing. Like, and so maybe just call it a cut and then maintain for a little bit.
I think, so you said, you gain 5 pounds and none of that's muscle. What's your kind of gauge there? How do you how would somebody who has never like done a muscle building phase or even a fat loss phase know if they are losing fat or muscle?
Yeah. I mean, my gauge for me is how I'm looking in the mirror, how my clothes are fitting. I haven't taken measurements yet, but I probably could. But I know after a while, but I can tell I'm a little bit puffier um,
Yeah.
than I normally am. It's nothing,
Hmm.
again, we're not talking holy cow, like this is crazy. And
Yeah. Yeah.
again, maybe a half a pound, but it's the other thing for me, the reason I know not much of it or any of its muscles, I haven't gotten any stronger
Okay.
because I haven't been able to really push myself with lifting because
Yeah.
I've had some injuries. And so like if you're building muscle, you are probably getting stronger in
Right.
some way, shape, or form. And I haven't been training nearly hard enough to be putting on muscle, which is fine
Hmm.
in terms of like what I've been able to train. But
Yeah.
um, you know, what about you? Like during the time that you were doing it, your bulk, and
Yeah.
why did you choose like 5 to 7 versus you put on 10 to 12, like
Yeah.
in 6 months or so, like how
Yeah.
much, or it was actually probably 4 months, right, from when you finished, like maybe put
Yeah.
on at this point in your training career, I think probably the top end would be about 3 or 4 pounds of muscle in that amount
Yeah.
of time.
Yeah. I
So
usually I was just yeah. Sorry. Go ahead.
no, I was just curious, like what made you kind of like assess it the way that you did.
Yeah. So typically when so I've really outside of like when you first start weightlifting, I haven't ever done like a strategic like bulk, right?
Yeah.
Like most of the time I feel like is like cutting. Like when you first start when I first started, like I was active enough, young enough, still new to weightlifting where I was able to put on a lot of muscle like very quickly. And
Yeah.
so I never I was playing football at the time and trying to gain
Mm,
as much muscle as possible. But when you're running every day, doing sprint drills, doing all these things and lifting, it's very hard to gain weight.
mm,
You know what I mean? So I was like, I was going to Chipotle like every single day, just eating as much as I could. And so
mm,
it was like there was no strategy. And I at the time I didn't know any strategy. And so I was
yeah.
just eating and stuff. And then obviously, like when you stop doing that, you stop moving. And then that's kind of when the weight comes on. So then you kind of get in that period of cutting. But yeah, so probably I've been 2021, 2 years ago was kind of the first time I really was like intentional about I'm going to try and put on more muscle. I'm going to track things like that. And yeah, I think you mentioned it. They're kind of in the 4 months. They're probably about 4 pounds, like 2 pounds a
Mm,
month, 1 to 2 pounds um, maybe like a half a pound to a pound a week is kind of where I was kind of looking at there.
mm-hmm.
And then so I knew, and so like for the first like month or so, when you start intentionally trying to bulk, kind of like with fat loss, you start to see results pretty quick, right? You can eat a lot
Yeah.
more and still, but then all of a sudden that slows down a little bit. And so that's always been my hardest part is like, and I think the same thing goes for like when you're in a fat loss phase too, is when I do like a cut, like at some point, like I'm not a very big guy. I'm only 5'5", and so like if I cut, like I think at one point, see, like right now I'm like I think 163 this morning, 163. A couple of years ago I did a cut. I got down to 147, and so 147 is pretty lean,
Mm,
even for somebody who's 5'5", right? And so like
mm,
once I get to that point, I start like, oh man, I'm like way too small. You know what I mean? Like, cause I'm used to
yeah.
like being a little stronger. And so, I mean, even though I'm still like have the strength, like I get a lot smaller and stuff. And so that I think that happens too when I do the bulk sometimes. Like I have to be in the right mindset with that because if I let it go, like if I let this bulk go for 6 months rather than like 4 months that I did, I would have put on a lot of fat. And then I start to feel like out of shape. Even though like
Yeah.
I'm working out consistently, I'm still doing you know, cardio multiple times. I start to feel out of shape and stuff. And I think psychologically is what the hard part of it is and stuff. And so I think that's why, like, even if whether you're, losing fat or, trying to put on size, like I think taking it slow not only allows it you be able to maintain it, but psychologically, it's not a huge shift. Like going, losing 15 pounds in a month or gaining 15 pounds in a month, that's a big shift right away. You know what I
Mm-hmm.
mean? So if you can 1 or 2 pounds here or there, it's a lot easier to kind of identify with that new norm. And so that's why I kind of stopped after the 4 months here, and I'll probably get back into it probably maybe springtime. My plan is to do this cut now all the way through the end of the year, and then reassess maybe January, do a maintenance, February, maybe do a little bit more of a cut, and then just kind of assess from there. So like I used to try and map out like the whole year. And then it's
Yeah.
like, sometimes it just got tedious. So kind of
Yeah.
breaking it up into 8 to 12 week stretches. And then if you're doing a bulk, obviously like if I get lean enough, then I can extend the bulk a lot longer. But if you don't
Yeah.
get pretty lean before you do a bulk, then you start to add a lot of fat, then you start to not like what you're seeing, so then you want to give it up, and all of a sudden you've gone 6 months and you haven't really gotten any leaner or really stronger because you can't make up your mind. But that's kind of my process behind it.
Yeah. So when you go into something where you're trying to cut, what are your
Mm-hmm.
kind of first moves,
Mm-hmm.
versus when you're in maintenance or you're in a bulk?
Yeah, I'd say. So I know we do this a little bit differently. I like to track. I like to track my
Mm-hmm.
food a lot. So I work backwards a lot of the times. I work backwards where I figure out my calorie goal, figure out what I need to hit, and for me, it's pretty effortless now, just because I've done it so many
Yeah.
times, so long. Like, it's not like, to me, it's not that tedious because I've just done it so much, right?
Yeah.
And so I kind of work backwards from there. Like I know what I'm typically going to eat for breakfast each day. I know what I'm going to eat for lunch. I kind of cycle through 3 or 4, and so then it's just like if my wife cooks something for dinner that I don't track, then I know I got to be a little bit more diligent early in the morning. So I kind of leave a little bit more calories
Yeah.
there, and so figured out my calorie goal is you the biggest thing for sure. I try and get my step goal is always 10,000. So trying to get a walk in each day, especially since like I'm home 90% of the time. It's like it does make it more challenging. I got to be more intentional with that for sure.
Yeah.
Like getting up in the morning, even when it's cold, like going for a walk, like that. That's something that um, that I see when I'm in a bulk phase, I tend to give up, maybe subconsciously, because like in my head, like I'm trying to put on size, I'm not trying to slim down a little bit. So I walk a lot when I'm in more of a cut phase and stuff, and I'm definitely more intentional with
Yeah.
that. So, and then the other one is just always making sure my sleep is okay. That one's tough. My sleep is very sporadic.
Yeah.
Like,
small kids. Yeah.
yeah, I was like, you got all 3 of them within like a year of each other, and so I know you get it. But then
my younger son was up from 3 until 4:15, 4:30 last night.
yeah,
Like if we make it through the night with all 3 kids sleeping through the night, it's usually 2 out of 3, but it's like we'll get one of them that'll do
yeah,
a little bit, and it's just like, all right, you just kind of stack,
yeah,
and they don't. Yeah, sleep is tricky with young kids, but
yeah,
do what you can.
yeah, yeah. And I actually was it yesterday? I actually got 8 hours yesterday, unintentionally.
Nice.
That was the first time I can't remember the last time that happened, but I looked through. What was I gonna say? I got like my normal amount of sleep or whatever, 6, whatever it is. I normally I feel like I see 6 hours 27 minutes on my Apple Watch almost every day. Like that's the most I ever get. But my son actually was running a fever and he was sick, and I got up for the day and he had woken up and used the restroom and then came and laid on the couch with me, and I thought we were just going to be up for the day, so I just kind of laid there holding his hand while he wasn't feeling good, and we both fell asleep on the couch. So I was like, well, awesome. It's like nice. So I actually hit 8 hours, but like that, yeah, that's always tough, and so I think that's really hard, and maybe you've got some tips for that one, but I know you work with parents, but for sleep, like sleep is tough, and that's something to me, like, not that I give up on it and don't try, but I've kind of come to the realization that like uninterrupted sleep isn't going to happen. And so I got to control everything else. Right.
Yeah. Um, yeah, the sleep thing's so interesting. So I actually just, it's going to drop this week actually. So I don't know
Mm-hmm.
when you're going to put this one live, but, I did a whole, it's like an hour and 10-minute podcast on sleep.
Mm-hmm.
And why sleep is, so I'm doing like a series right now on the building blocks of fat loss in like the order of importance. And I think sleep is number 4 above any movement based thing. So I went calorie deficit, protein, fiber, sleep, walking, strength training, cardio. That's my order of importance. They're all important.
Yeah.
But sleep is the one that is, it just makes everything easier. Like it's so much harder to will yourself to do the things that you need to do, like all these things, like to make a quality food choice, to go work out, to go for a walk, to do all these things when you're tired, because you just like want to do nothing. Like that's just
Right.
And so, but I agree with you, like some of this is outside of your control, but so then what do? Well, we control what we can, you know, and do what we can, just like with everything. And then I think the rest of it is okay, you know, you do what you can, and you kind of, but some of it too is just like expect the inevitable, you know, like the idea of, all right, it's a little bit foolish for me to think that I'm going to get 7 days in a row with all 3 kids sleeping. Whether or not it should or not is irrelevant.
Yeah.
Like whether or not I think that they should be able to sleep through the night, and generally they do, but it's like somebody wakes up and, you know, whatever, just for whatever reason, um, just experience would tell me that that's not going to happen. And so that's like one of those things. It's like, all right, I'm going to go to Thanksgiving, which is on Thursday. I'm going to go to Thanksgiving and I'm just not going to have any apple pie. It's like, I mean, you could try that, but that's going to be a little bit tough because you know that it's going to be there. And so just trying to like bash your head against it is, I feel like not always the best strategy. But I agree with you that sleep is there. And I'm big on walking, particularly recently. The last few months I've been like really kind of pushing the walking thing even more than I already had with clients, because I had one mom who was working with me. So like a week before we started working together, and part of why she reached out to me is she jacked up her back, like slipped a disc and had like crazy nerve pain, and ended up having to have surgery about 8 weeks into us working together. So like she couldn't work out like at all. Like she could barely, you know what I mean? Like couldn't get into a plank position kind of thing without like, she was around, but she could walk. And so she did nutrition and she did walking, and in 8 weeks she lost 12 pounds. And that was all she did. So I've had other clients who've done that too. I had a guy who shattered his arm 2 weeks in. So like could kind of lift, but kind of not. And I'm like, listen, if you can eat right and walk, you can lose fat. And you can just do it with just eating right. The walking just makes it easier. So I'm big on the walking side of it. For sure. Because it's just a low barrier to entry. Like, just get up and walk right now. Like, if you're listening to this podcast, stand up and walk. Unless you're in a car, don't do that. But like, stand up and walk around your living room while you're listening to this. Like, you can just do it in the clothes that you're wearing. You don't need fancy shoes. You don't need a shower afterward. You don't need whatever. Just get up and walk.
For your clients that I get a lot of clients who like they have a goal of like running a 5K. Or I've had some do like Ironman, things like that, or Spartan races stuff. But for clients who are already fairly active, is like they're doing some kind of running or throughout the week. Where do you prioritize the step goal then, or walking, or is that something since they're kind of already getting that movement in? How do you kind of approach that?
Um, yeah, I mean, the way that I talk about it, like, listen, I'm never going to tell you not to, exercise more. At some point though, like you have the conversation of like balance and sustainability and whatever. But like if you're going to go do this, like if you're doing it and it's not an issue for you to work out, you're doing your strength training and you're doing, whatever, you're running or you're playing a sport or whatever it is. Like I'm not going to tell you not to do that. Yeah. However, what I've found is even people who are active in that scenario, sometimes they're sedentary outside of that hour and a half. And so like you can go move and do something for an hour and a half, but then if you don't move the rest of the day, you might not actually be getting as much activity as you think that you want to and or need to in order to support the calorie deficit that you're trying to do. And so, I'm not a hard, like, okay, you have to be doing this. But like, for instance, I don't have an Apple Watch. And so when I work out, like I track my steps on my phone. My phone's just in my pocket. Right. So when I work out, my phone's not in my pocket because I'm working out. And so all the steps that I get during my workout don't track. And, who knows how many that is, right? It's probably, I pace around a bunch during. So, probably 1,500, 2,000 steps or whatever it is during that workout. I don't care, right? Because like, I know that the workout is the workout, but the step thing for me is just the idea of I'm trying to move regularly throughout the day because that's the consistent thing. Like you can walk every day. Like you can hit your step goal every single day versus it's very challenging to do a workout in whatever form 7 days a week. Particularly when we're talking about parents, right? Like the idea of it for me is so like, all right, go for a walk is great. We've talked about this, I think on the last time we did this, but like, it's just being an active parent, like just like it's the weekend, just like go be outside with your kids and they're going to want to play with you. Like you're going to get those in and it's just or like I get to the, I want to do this one day of like, I get to the end of the day and from post dinner until the kids are all asleep, I'll get 3,000 steps just like, cause that's when they want to play chase around the house and silly pickups and up and down the stairs 7 times to put everybody in bed. And, you're running away. Well, I got to put your diaper on, for bed and, all this milk and everybody's got to get their things, bath times. I'm going to get 2,000, 3,000 steps in that last 2 hours just from being dad. And so the idea is just move your body intentionally, like making sure that you're doing that because that's part of the equation. Now you can't you can't outdo the nutrition piece of it, but it makes a big, big difference. Yeah.
No, I definitely, I spend a lot of the time. I mean, I know you do too. I mean, people think of like coaches, trainer, just super active all the time. But even when we're with clients in person, it's kind of a lot of standing around. You know what I mean? It's like you're pacing back and forth in a very 8x10, area. And so, I mean, I know you teach kind of group classes too, so you're probably moving a little bit more.
The small group classes help. Like, when I finish a small group, if I do like the 3 mornings a week where I do 2 small group classes, I'll leave the gym with 7,000 steps. Cause during those 2 hours, I'm like, I got 18 people in there that I'm coaching through like lifts. It's not like, we're doing like, I'm not doing the workout, but I'm coaching 18 people through a lift. And so I gotta be, I'm like running from person to person, making sure I'm watching every, as much of every rep as I can for everybody. So that's something, but I only do that a few days a week and I'll come home and same thing as you, like Tuesday, Thursday, I'll come home, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, I'll come home and I'll then be on Zoom for 4 hours. Doing client calls.
No, when I when I said I did a cut a few years ago and I was at like 147 or something,
Mm-hmm.
that's when I was still teaching in person. So I was teaching
Mm-hmm.
PE at the time, and so like I was in the gym all the day, with students and
Mm-hmm.
stuff, and
You're just on your feet.
I was like averaging 15,000 steps like while at
Yeah.
work. I'd have like 15,000 by like 3 o'clock, and just
Well,
pacing back and forth the whole time. But
this is that thing that I feel like we talk about. Like people are like, "Oh, my metabolism slowed down, or my metabolism's
yeah,
broken." It's like it's not broken. You're
stop
just not
moving.
moving like you did when you
Yeah,
were 18. Like it's all like, "Oh
yeah,
man, when I was in high school and I played soccer, I was in such great shape." It's like, well, because you ran for 3 hours a day every single day after
yeah,
school, and then your fun times
exactly.
with your friends was going out back and playing frisbee. Like you like no
Right.
kid tracks their steps because no kid needs to, but
Yeah.
like most kids that are relatively active are getting that without breaking a sweat. So like they can, that's how you can eat Pop Tarts and gummy bears and stay have a six pack. It's not because
Right.
your nutrition's so great. It's that you're so active. And
Yeah.
it's not that your metabolism broke when you grew up. It's just, oh, you have a life that doesn't permit you to be as active. So be more
Yeah.
active.
Yeah, that's funny that you you brought that up though. My two oldest kids love watches. Like they always want to wear my wife and I's watch
Oh, because
and
they
stuff.
probably
And
see
so,
it on you. They probably see it
well,
on you.
yeah.
Yeah.
So for Christmas, yeah, they don't know about this yet. You know about this before they do, but I bought them, and yeah, unless they're secretly listening to the show, but they I got them both like watches
Oh, fun.
for Christmas, but they have a step tracker on them, and so
Oh, that's
I was like,
fantastic.
this is
Dude,
gonna be
I,
awesome
I
because
would be genuinely curious to like put it
I
on my
know
three-year old and
I was
just
like they
see,
yes they
dude,
move all
like
the
it's
time.
whenever we finish dinner, it's like become a nighttime ritual. So like the kitchen, the dining area and the kitchen, and then there's a hallway to the bathroom. So our house is not all that big, right? But it's probably, I
Hmm.
don't know, 40 feet long or something like that.
Yeah.
But there's like a little runway from the
Uh-huh.
closet door at the end of the thing through the kitchen to the wall by the dining area,
Right.
and they'll just shuttle run back and like as soon as they get down from their chairs, they're like, all
Yeah.
right, we're done eating, like shuttle
Yep.
runs for 15 minutes, and I'll just sit on the
Yeah.
floor and they'll just run back and forth
Yeah.
and like come and tackle me, and I'm like, you guys for
Yeah.
20 minutes.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
wild.
That's what. Yeah. My son always every time. So we only have one bathroom in our house,
Mm-hmm.
and so like my office is in the back of the house. So every time I want to go to the bathroom, I have to walk through the
Mm-hmm.
storage room, through the kitchen, through the living room, back to the bathroom. So every time I walk by, my son says, "Would you like to play football with me?" I was like,
Mm-hmm.
how can I turn that down?" Right. So like during the day, I'm playing like 8 mini games of football throughout the
Yeah.
day. I always have to tell him like one drive right now, one drive, and so we're always playing
That's
football.
awesome.
Like after at the end of the day, I bought him a flag football set, and so
Oh, nice.
he's been loving that. We've been playing in the backyard. Um, but you mentioned earlier, you said I don't remember exactly what you said, but you were talking about Thanksgiving and stuff, and like
Yeah.
passing up pie and everything. And so
Yeah.
obviously, this will be posted the week of Thanksgiving, and so um, I have a specific goal. I had a specific goal from November 13th to the end of the year, about 7 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
I want my goal is 1 pound a week. For me, it's just I think it's easier if I have a specific goal, even if I miss it
Yeah.
by a pound or two. It's not that big of a deal.
Yeah.
But for me, it's something that I can keep tracking consistently of. And
Yeah.
so as like we're gonna hit Thanksgiving. Yeah, I think from starting like today, we have something like almost every single day for like the end of the you know what I mean, like every
Yeah.
weekend and things like this. And so um, that definitely makes it harder. Like there, it makes it harder to lose fat. It makes it harder to lose,
Yeah.
um, that weight you want to, but um, you're never going to find an extended stretch throughout the year that something doesn't come up, right?
Yeah.
And so, what's your game plan on Thanksgiving, or what's your game plan from Thanksgiving? Because Thanksgiving, I always kind of like to say, like it's one day, right? It's one
Yeah.
day, but what happens is you let that one day turn in Thanksgiving's Thursday. You let that Thursday turn into Friday. You let that Friday turn into Saturday. All of a sudden, oh, it's almost December. Oh, we'll start New Year's, right? And so,
Yeah.
how are you? What's your plan for the next 6 weeks or so to kind of make sure you lose the weight you want to?
Yeah. Well, I think this is how you and I are a little bit different. So you talked about how you do the tracking calories thing,
Yeah.
and for me, not that it's that tedious, right? Like I could do it, but
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't want to. I haven't
Right.
really ever had a consistent run of that, and
Yeah.
I'm also on the flip side because I have some clients who like to, and some clients will
Hmm.
do it, and then other clients who
Yeah.
don't. So I want to show like, hey, this is doable without it, and
Yeah.
so the framework for me actually, I think, is a little bit easier when I think about days like Thanksgiving or some of these things, is to think about like having a blueprint for my meals or a blueprint for my day, basically.
Mm.
And so the difference for me between um, maintenance, bulking, and cutting is just I call it like dials. Like I'm just dialing up or I'm dialing down the
Yeah.
calories on my general meal. So like I'll give you an
Yeah.
example. I basically eat the same breakfast every day. Anybody who's like, oh, I need more variety in my food, like you
Yeah.
don't. You just don't like what you're eating because you'll eat the same thing
Yeah.
if it's a bacon, egg, and cheese on an everything bagel. You know what I mean? Like
Right.
it's just a matter of whatever. So like you got to find something that you like. So I've basically had the same breakfast, one or two breakfasts for a long time. And so
Yeah.
my breakfast is scrambled eggs and it's oatmeal with blueberries
Yeah.
and cinnamon, and it's delicious. Put a little hot sauce on the eggs. So the difference for me when I'm in maintenance, I'll do like a 1-to-1 whole eggs to egg white ratio.
Okay.
So I'll do like
Yeah.
3 whole eggs and 3 egg whites on
Yeah.
top of that. So you get a little extra protein. When I'm bulking, I go 6 whole eggs
There you go.
or 4 to 2 or something like that. When
Hmm.
I'm cutting, I go 2 to 4. So I'll do 2 whole eggs to 4 egg whites. So it's
Okay.
the same meal. It tastes roughly the same. It's not drastically different,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's a different from two eggs up to 6 eggs. Again, it's probably roughly the same protein, but I'm
Yeah.
saving 280 calories or something like that,
Yeah.
that gap between it. Or let's take another, like a dinner example. A really common dinner for us at our house, and I know you love steak. So like we'll have steak, sweet potatoes, and broccoli, like roasted sweet
Hmm.
potatoes and roasted broccoli, like just thrown
Yeah.
on a pan, boom. So, and I use the best way to measure this, and I don't actually measure it, is like the hand method. So the cupped handful
Right.
of, so like if I put a cupped handful of sweet potatoes on my plate, so the protein and the veggies are gonna the protein's gonna stay exactly the same. The
Yeah.
veggies are gonna make up the difference. So when I'm
Okay.
bulking, I might do 3 cupped handfuls of sweet potatoes, and then
Okay.
the rest of my plate is broccoli. In
Yeah.
maintenance, it might be 2 cupped handfuls, and then in a cut, it's 1 cupped handful. So the meal is
Hmm.
exactly the same. It's just I'm dialing up or dialing down the carbs or the fats
Yeah.
associated with it.
Yeah.
And so then when I go to Thanksgiving, as an example, then I can, again, you think about each of the meals of the day, right? So Thanksgiving, it's very easy for it to be like, all right, the whole day is a wash. Well, it's
Right.
not, right? It's not, because you can wake up, you can have a quality breakfast, even though the tradition in my family, in our household, is we're going to have the Pillsbury cinnamon rolls,
Exactly.
the
Yeah.
little ones you pop in the
Yeah.
oven.
Oh yeah.
So I'm going to have my same exact breakfast, but I'm going to make 2 changes. I'm going to not have the oatmeal, and I'm going to have a couple of cinnamon rolls. So that's
Okay.
basically a wash. In terms of quality, yeah, it's a drop in quality. It's less fiber, whatever, but
Right.
it's fine. And I'm going to go 1 whole egg, maybe, and a little bit more egg whites, because again, I know that
Hmm.
carbs and fats are going to be plentiful later.
Yeah.
With my lunch, instead of having my chicken fajita wrap, I might have a salad with the
Hmm.
chicken on it before I go. So it might be an early lunch, like 10:30
Right.
or something like that, so that I'm not going into there wicked hungry. And then I'll have Thanksgiving dinner. I'll have whatever I want. You're going to have protein on the Thanksgiving dinner. I might throw some veggies on there. That's fine. I can have pie. That's fine. And then when I come home at night, I'll have, again, a little bit of a leaner dinner, because I know that I had plenty of carbs and fats. And so then this is so that's kind of the general framework, and that can work across the board, right? You just like
Right.
kind of modulate these things up and down based on what you have
Yeah.
coming your way.
Hmm.
But the other thing is, and this is, I posted this on Friday, and it's been a conversation I've been having with my clients a ton. Um, is there's the episode in Friends where Joey doesn't share food. Do you watch Friends?
Yeah,
You know
yeah.
what I'm talking about?
Oh, I
So
love
so
Friends.
Joey
Every
doesn't
night.
share food,
That's
and then
my
he's on a
wind
date
down
with
show. Yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
Joey doesn't share food, and then he's on a date with this girl, and she orders a dessert, and he wants to have some, and she's like, "No, you don't get to have any of my food if I don't get to have any of your food." So then she goes to the
Yeah.
bathroom, and he takes a bite of it, and then you cut to it, and it's all over his face, and she comes back in, and he looks at her, and he's like, "I'm not even sorry." And it was like that.
Right.
It's so good. That should be the gauge. That should be the gauge for these kind of treat foods that you're going to have. Is they should be something that you look forward to and want to have so much that
Right.
you can get to the end of it and be like, I'm not even sorry. Like, that was so good.
Yeah.
Like cheese and crackers and chips and salsa, which are going to be plentiful on Thanksgiving. Don't care. Like,
Yeah.
no, like if I don't have those, it's not going to be. If I don't have apple pie, that's going to be a rough day. If I don't have
Yeah.
my cinnamon rolls in the morning, that's, you know what I mean? I'd rather have those and be like, I'm not even sorry about those. And so then it
Right.
makes it easier for me to say no to the things that are just there.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so then when you're thinking about, this is the last thing that I'll say, is when you think about the macro, so we have 6 weeks left now,
Yeah.
42 days. So you can do this via days or via meals, but 42 days, just ease
Mm-hmm.
of it. If you're shooting for 80%, which is kind of the common vernacular, 80% consistency,
Right.
80%, that means 7 days. Is that math right? Did I math that right? No, I didn't math that right. It was more than that. Hang on. Yeah, 8 days. That's math. 8 days
Says the
of those
former math
42.
teacher. Right.
Yeah, it's been a day. Yeah, I was gonna not bring up that I was a math teacher for a long time. So 42. I saw like 7 different posts today with different
Yeah.
numbers, and so my head is a little bit
I
like,
wasn't
what
gonna say
number am I
anything.
talking about here? Yeah. But this is what I'm doing with my holiday fat loss challenge that I'm running. I'm like, all right, pick 8 days, circle them on the calendar, and those are the days that you don't have to worry about hitting your targets.
Yeah.
But if you hit it the rest of the days, you're going to be fine. So like Thanksgiving, Christmas Eve, Christmas Day, New Year's Eve, although parents usually don't care about New Year's Eve, but like do those 3 and then give yourself 5 weekend
Yeah.
days or, you know, Christmas parties or whatever to just be like, all right, everything else. And then I'm on track the rest of it. And you can also do this
I
with
like
meals.
that.
If you're eating 3 times a day times 42 days, or let's do 5 for ease of numbers, right? So if I had 3 meals, 2 snacks, that's 5 times a day that I eat, times
Mhm.
42 is 210, right? And then 20% of that goes right back down to 42. So of the
Yeah.
210 meals that I'm going to eat between now and the end of the year, 42 of them can be whatever I want them to be. That's a lot of meals. And so Thanksgiving dinner and your apple pie dessert, that's a meal and a snack.
Right.
And then for me, breakfast. So I'm getting 3
Yeah.
of my 42 on Thanksgiving, but 2 of the other ones are fine, right? Same
Yeah.
thing. And so you can start to see how this can be a little bit flexible in that way.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I like that. I like that a lot. Um, yeah, you're talking about kind of going up or down with the meals there,
Mm-hmm.
with the eggs and everything. And yeah, I think when you, like I think we're pretty similar when it comes to like how we approach meals. Like we don't actually tell clients what to eat, right? Like it doesn't
Mm-hmm.
really matter.
No.
I mean, yes, what you matter eats, but just because I like steak and sauerkraut doesn't mean you're gonna like steak. You know what I mean? It's like, and so, but it's like going up or down there, and I do the same as so even though I track it, it's very
Mm-hmm.
similar, right? I have
Yeah.
there's like 3 or 4 things I cycle through for breakfast. I eat oatmeal.
Mm-hmm.
Oatmeal is one of them. I've started getting these Jimmy Dean sausage. It's sausage, eggs, and cheese.
Mm-hmm.
And you put them in the microwave. It's 240 calories, 24 grams of protein. They're fantastic. And I get them because it's simple, right? It's
Yep.
simple in the morning. I can just throw it in there and stuff. And so that's one of them. I cycle through like 3 or 4. And then you talked about like you go from like 2 eggs to 6 eggs.
Mm-hmm.
Chipotle is like my weekly staple. I go there.
Yeah.
Probably more often than I should. But when I'm in more of like a
Yeah.
maintenance phase or like a bulking phase, the difference for me is I get the same exact thing at Chipotle, and it just depends on whether or not I get a tortilla on the side, because the tortilla is
Yeah.
about 300 calories. I was like, I literally get the same exact thing. And so it's like
Yeah.
for Thanksgiving, for me, well, usually like we go to somebody else's house and we
Mm-hmm.
awkwardly have lunch at like 3 o'clock. And so it just throws everything off.
Mm-hmm.
But this year we're staying home and it's just going to be us five, which is going to be awesome. And so we'll have a
That's great.
normal lunchtime, but kind of the same thing, right? My rule for Thanksgiving is I do one plate. I kind of do the one plate
Mm-hmm.
rule, and
Yeah.
I put whatever I want on it. I put whatever I want on that plate. And if I want a dessert, I can have a dessert after it. If not, I can save it for later. But I put whatever I want. I don't stack things. I just keep it, as flat as possible on there. But I eat as much as I want on that one plate. But then once I'm done with that one plate, that's my meal. And so for me, that's
Yeah.
really simple. Like I know I'm already going to get turkey. I know I'm going to get stuffing. I know I'm going to get potatoes. Whatever there is. And so
Yeah.
I'm not a big sweet potato pie fan, and so like I'll pass on that. They throw that cranberry stuff on there, but I don't know if I've ever,
No.
dip a roll in it or
Don't eat
something.
it.
I don't know, but it's like, so for me, it's like pretty simple. It's pretty simple, and like
Yeah.
even though our approaches on paper look very different, you know what I mean? One's tracking, one's not. You're still tracking in a way, right? You're
Yeah.
still like you're just not. It's just a different way to do it. I'm inputting it into my phone.
Yeah.
It's for me. It just makes more sense for me, because then I know later on, hey, I've had this much. Well, I can, if I decide to enjoy
I think
something else,
everybody
no big deal.
should track at some point. At
I
some
agree.
point, I think everybody should track for at least a couple weeks. They should weigh their
Yeah.
food for at least a couple weeks to see what they're doing. And again, now I'm able to do it, and some clients I have never tracked.
Yeah.
But most need to make some of these, to do some of it for a little bit. But the reason why I can kind of eyeball stuff and be like, okay, those are relatively interchangeable, is because I've tracked for long
Yeah.
enough. So I know
Right.
in my head, all right, my oatmeal is going to be 300 calories, the way that my oatmeal
Yeah.
is drawn up. And so if I have two of these Pillsbury things, that's 360 or something like that. So it's
Yeah.
basically a wash, right? But I can do that because I can kind of eyeball it, and I can see, all right, I know vaguely what's going to happen here.
Yeah.
And that's how people ask me all the time, like, how do you know if you were in a calorie deficit? Because I'll say sometimes when I'm doing my log, I'm like, I know I lost fat yesterday because I was in a calorie deficit, but the scale didn't go down for, one of the many reasons why the scale doesn't go down. And they're like, how did you know you were in a calorie deficit? Because if you didn't track, I'm like, well, I did track, but I tracked it in my head,
Yeah.
which I'm not necessarily recommending that you do. But I also know, like, I could just track one day and be like, all right, this is basically every day with some swaps. Like, basically every day I'm going to have, like, you can build out your repertoire. Like you talk about, you have your couple, I have 2 or 3 breakfasts, and they're all basically the same amount of calories and the same amount of protein, right? If that's the case, then you're good. I have 2 or 3 lunches. They're all basically the same amount of calories, the same amount of fiber and protein in them. Same thing. I got 5 or 6 dinners, and all my dinners are going to be between 400 and 500 calories, 400 and 550 calories, and have 35-ish grams of protein in them. Like, that's just how they're built. And so I know the ones that are going to be a little bit on the higher calorie side, and the ones are going to be a little bit on the lower calorie side. And it's usually based on what protein I'm doing. Is it a higher fat protein, or is it a lower fat protein? That's basically the difference. And so I know, hey, tonight we're having salmon. That's going to be on the higher calorie end. So I might choose a lunch that's on the lower calorie side, or a snack that's on the lower calorie side. So you have like a little bit, but it's also like, what is 100 calories going to matter? Right. It's a matter of, 500 calories matters, 1,000 calories matters, but like 50, 100 calories. It's like when you go out to dinner with friends as you're an adult and you're like, I'll get this one, you get the next one. Or like, let's just split the check. Even though I might've spent, $10 more than you, this is eventually going to end up in a wash because we're adults. And like, I'm not going to, don't ask me to Venmo you the $3 like you did in college. Like, hey, can you hit me back for that ice cream I bought you? It's like, listen, let's just be adults and recognize it's all is going to end up in a wash a little bit.
Yep. Yeah. No. And I think, like you said, I have everybody track at least for a while, just because I think it's a good idea. I always refer to it as like, your budget, you're trying to save money. Well, if you don't know
Yeah.
how much you're already spending, how do you know where to set your budget, right? And so
Yeah, for sure.
I always do it for a while, and then a lot of times, like the biggest thing, breakfast and lunch, I am 95% of the time always on my own, right? Um,
Yeah.
for dinner, like if you're with your family, right? I don't track a lot of my dinners because if it's homemade, it's possible, right? If I'm the one cooking it, a lot of times I'll weigh stuff out. But if it's my wife, I don't make her do it
Yeah.
for me, right? And so, um, one thing that I've noticed too, like you said, how do you know if you're in a calorie deficit? Since I've tracked so long and I've started to kind of recognize things, when I am in a deficit before bed that night, my stomach, I can tell I'm a little hungry. Like I have,
Yeah.
kind of like this like emptiness in my stomach. It's like it's hard to explain, and for somebody who's never done this for a long time, I wouldn't necessarily recommend using this as a gauge because
No.
when you start to lose weight right away, you are going to be more hungry than normal, and it will level out. That's completely normal. But I know on the days when I don't track my calories, I can always tell you that night whether or not I went over my calorie goal or not because I've just done it so long and I know how I feel. I know how I feel
Yeah.
and so that takes time. That took me a lot of years to kind of just kind of be inept to that, I guess, or just be more aware of some of that. But that's, I mean, they're like you said, you don't track your calories, and I've seen you post multiple times your cuts and everything. So obviously, like it's working. It's like you've figured out a
Yeah.
system that works for you. And so there is more than one way. I've had a client who I worked with for 3 months. He lost 12 pounds, never tracked a single food, and so
Yeah.
it was like there's more than one approach. This is the approach that I, for myself, not even my clients don't always use the same approach as me, and that's okay. Like it's what works for me, and but yeah, I think it's cool. I think it's cool for people to see kind of just different ways we kind of go about it.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I agree. I think that, listen, anybody who's claiming that there's only one way to do it or they found the secret formula to fat loss is selling you something and usually full of it. So just understand that gatekeeping is the opposite of helpful, right? There are many ways to achieve fat loss. There's many ways to achieve weight loss and health and all these kinds of things. And you have to find the one that's going to work for you, because if not, you're not going to stick with it.
Right.
And that's the key. Like, fat loss is not a forever endeavor.
Yeah.
And so that's why it's like okay to feel hungry sometimes. Like it should be hard
Yeah.
enough that you force your body to adapt to it. But you have to do it long enough to see the results that you're looking for. And so you can do something that's really, really hard and do it for 3 or 4 weeks. It's usually not enough time, no matter how hard it is, no matter how hard you push yourself to see the results that you're looking for. Like you usually need a few months to be able to have enough runway to see the progress that we're hoping for.
Right.
And usually people give up before that. And it's not because it's not working. It's that either A, they lose belief that it is working, or what they're doing is too extreme that they can't keep it up.
Yeah.
And so you got to kind of find that middle ground where it's hard, but not so hard that you can't stick with it.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's good. I know we got to run here. You mentioned earlier, you have a challenge. You have a challenge going on. Do you want to quickly kind of tell us about that? And if people can hop in late, since I know it already started, where can they find that?
Yeah. People can hop in late. It's just pretty simple challenge, but I'm providing more than I've ever given away for free. Like I'm workouts and nutrition guides and cheat sheets and consistency calendar and all kinds of stuff, and Q&As with me and my Facebook group. So if you have an interest in that, just shoot me a DM on Instagram or Facebook. So on Instagram, it's at Jeff Dalzell Fitness. On Facebook, it's just Jeff Dalzell. And we can get you in after the fact. And if you don't want to do it alongside other people, I also have just a nutrition cheat sheet for the holiday season that's somewhat similar and somewhat different from, but it's kind of the roadmap that I'm using as well.
Cool. Awesome. Yeah, I'll put the information for that in the show notes so people can hop on that.
Sweet. Thanks, man. Thanks for having me on. Sorry I had to bounce here.
No, that's all right. We
hear
went.
my twins stirring
I said
upstairs.
we could probably no. I figured it was probably nap time or something, but I'm sure we could always talk for a long time. Yeah. But yeah, I appreciate you coming on here. Yeah, and so I'll put all your information in there. But if you have any questions for Jeff, and for some reason you can't find him on social media, just make sure to message me, and I'll get you his information. He's a great coach to follow. Make sure you're following him. He shared one of my stories the other day on his, and I think I got like 5 of his followers. I think maybe some of the people he's working with all followed me. All these people started following me. I reached out to them all. They're like, "Oh yeah, nice. Jeff said to follow you." I was like, "Nice." So sweet. Cool, man. All right, well, good. I will. Yeah, like I said, I'll get all that posted. But appreciate you coming on.
Sweet, man. Yeah, it was great to chat.